welcome back. Now, do you dream of being spoiled, doors opened, chairs pulled out?
Not necessarily.
Someone else deciding where to go for dinner?
No, that's normally me.
What about paying for dinner?
That's always split.
Well, for women, it can be seen as romantic, but for others, it may be outdated.
Well, TikToker Courtney Palmer has sparked debate. Her video, with over 7 million views, claims every woman should now be called, a princess treatment. That's what she thinks all women should get, princess treatment. Here's what she had to say.
Let's talk about princess treatment if you're at a restaurant and how you interact with the waitstaff and the hostess. If I am at a restaurant with my husband, I do not talk to the hostess, I do not open any doors, and I do not order my own food. Your husband's gonna pull you up to the restaurant, he's gonna get out, open your door, he's gonna walk you to the restaurant door, open the door, and walk you in. You don't need to talk unless you are spoken to, and then if you are spoken to and I ask, you could just say, oh, I'm just waiting for my husband, and then he'll be able to give the reservation. They'll be like, what can I get you to eat? And I will just look at my husband. Like, if they address me first, I will just look at my husband. Let's say it is raining, you have a coat on, wait for your husband, and then he can take your coat off and give it to the coat check. So anything really, you're just waiting for your husband to do it. You're just being a princess. It's not because you're being hoity-toity. You're just letting your husband lead.
That's hard to watch, isn't it?
Letting your husband lead. There you go.
Well, trying to say it. I can't wait to hear their thoughts. Join us to discuss, is this just old school romance or gender norms gone wrong? Is journalist Édaein O'Connell and broadcaster Barbara Scully. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
How you doing? She's been kidnapped. Looks like kidnapped.
Control.
That's it. Yeah, that's not right.
So I take it you're not on the princess treatment vibe, are you?
And I don't think I ever would have been. And considering, I mean, I came of age, if you like, in the early 80s, when women didn't have all the rights we have now, and we still have a way to go. No, I never, ever would have wanted... I never even wanted the wedding princess kind of vibe. Like, none of that. That would be a complete anathema to me now altogether.
OK, so this lady's called Courtney. Édaein, was she on your horizon before? Was she on the radar? Who is this woman?
I've only seen her in the last week or so. So she's obviously gone viral. That video, as we said, is 7.2 million views or something like that. And it kept popping up because a lot of people were making kind of videos criticising her. It's kind of in tandem with that trad wife trend that has been hurrying around on TikTok.
Back to traditional wife.
Yes, there's that ballerina Farms who actually was in Cork for a while.
She was in Ballymaloe.
She was in Ballymaloe,
to the content.
So the Sunday Times had done a huge piece on her, and she had wanted to be a ballerina. She lived in New York City, but then met this man.
And wasn't he the son of this...
Jet Blue, I think, yeah. So he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
And she moved to this farm, I think, for her birthday, she'd said, I really want to go to Greece, and he bought her this apron that she could put eggs into from the farm. So there's her, and there's also Nara Smith who makes coke from scratch. So it's kind of feeding into this. Now, I do not agree with this lady's take, but I have always said I would like to be looked after.
But Barbara, you said cherished is a nice way of putting it. You'd like to be cherished, but you don't speak unless you're spoken to.
Not controlled.
No, absolutely that is control, isn't it?
Absolutely,
so that woman makes no decisions in her life.
And I mean, I can understand, in one part of my brain, I can understand the attraction of that, of having very defined borders and having no responsibility. He's making all the decisions and you're just kind of, trotting along behind. But having, and I wonder, is this, because this woman is American, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, is it part of the whole MAGA kind of, thing of going back to kind of supposedly traditional conservative family value kind of thing? The man is the man of the house and he's the one who's in charge, and the woman is secondary to that and has a secondary role to that. My problem with an awful lot of this is that I think that this is another symptom of the kind of world that we live in now, where everything is either right or it's wrong. It's either good or it's bad. This extremes. So things go to the absolute extreme.
And it's an aesthetic. So a lot of these videos, say with Trad Wife and even with this princess treatment, it turns into this trend. People make videos kind of dedicated to it, but it's all kind of make-believe also. You have to take it with a pinch of salt, but we were... Supposedly Gen Z has taken to this really, really well. And I was kind of thinking about why maybe it is that kind of mega side of things. But then I was like, is it a symptom as well of like how hard it is to kind of, I suppose, live in the world right now, where it's like it's expensive to make so many decisions. So then our Gen Z like, oh, it'd be so much easier if someone could come in and say, this is what you eat.
And I firmly believe that, you know, I mean, I would be an absolute card-carrying feminist.
Yes.
Believe in equality for women and all of that kind of stuff. Absolutely, I do. But I do think that you're touching on something that's really important, is that we have now feminism bought into the capitalist idea that if your work doesn't create wealth, it has no value. So, and it's mainly women who work in the home. If they are lucky enough and privileged enough to be able to do that, they're seen as not having any value. They're seen as having kind of given up and kind of been anti-feminist. And I know this because I did it. I was lucky enough when my third child was born in the year 2000. And we were able to make that decision that I would step back because I couldn't keep going anymore. When you're trying to raise a family, especially with more than one kid, and both of you are working full-time, it's really, really tough. And we're not allowed to say that. So therefore, I don't think it's kind of feminism and trad wives are the you know, the kind of, that's the extreme end. But I do think that we need to look at how we organise our lives.
Édaein, can I ask you there, you said that when you were watching this, there was a lot of people criticising it. Were there people supporting it?
I have only came across people criticising it. That was kind of on my. I suppose some of the creators that I would interact with would be more
criticising.
The algorithm
is feeding me that. But like I was telling you about this earlier, like say I'm single right now, and you know you talk about dating. Myself and my friends have had lots of conversations, and a few years back, when it came to like first dates, we always said, "Oh, we'll split
the bill."
You split the bill. But in the last, I would like to say, last year or two, a lot of my friends, and me included, we've kind of said. No, and it is. I know it's really bad, but there's been this shift. We've been
so you want him to pay?
To offer, he has to offer anyway.
Nice.
And then if he does want to pay for it, he can, of course. But a really good point to make about that kind of idea of feminism. I suppose.
So are you falling sort of maybe into this a bit?
Well, my friends have always said that the man they imagine me with is that like I would get out the card to pay for something, he'd be like, put it away. I have this. Put that back in your bag. But I suppose you're making such a good point about the idea of like feminism, and like I'm the exact same, and I'm very progressive and stuff like that. But I suppose I've fed into that idea that like you're an independent woman, and like I work for myself, like I'm self-employed, I rent, I do everything on my own. I'm very much independent.
Can I ask you,
it's exhausting at times. It's exhausting.
Can I ask you just one thing? What if you're earning more money than he is? Would you expect him still to pay?
No, I think when there's a difference in your economic situation.
He could be going, oh my God, how am I going to pay for this meal that she's really splashing out here tonight? I won't go out now for a month.
Starters, main course, champagne, the whole works.
Oysters, the whole shebang, and me not getting out that card at all. But it, like, I suppose it's a strange one that has happened. I think with a lot of friends, when they get into relationships, you do have to have those conversations about your economic situation. And I do think then the split, I have a lot of friends where if the girl is making more money, she is providing more, or say the rent is split differently, or the mortgage and things like that. But like I grew up in a household where I was very lucky. Both my parents worked. My mum was very much a career woman. My dad cooked all the dinners because mum would work late. But he always got that card out, lads. He'd be like... Exactly.
He ruined it for you.
He'd be like, Mary, do you want to go on a weekend away? And I was like, oh my God. So I kind of grew up with... But that is, again, that's kind of chivalry as well. We said, like, there's this idea then of the bare minimum. It's like princess treatment versus, like, the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that on TikTok. And it's like people, like, men opening doors for someone. Like, that's...
I've no problem with that.
None of that. Yeah, no problem with that either.
But I similarly would open a door for a girl. You know, or if there was an elderly person.
Or an older person.
That's exactly it. Or I'd get up, or do you want to do this? Or in a supermarket, I've got a trolley load, you've got one thing, you go ahead of me. So I don't think it's necessary. Actually, sorry, the QR code there I meant to say to you, do scan and send us in your comments if you'd like to.
Going back to who pays on the dates, because I mean, obviously I'm ancient, and when I was dating,
stop that, Barbara.
When I was dating, it was back in the late 70s and the early 80s, right? But I remember having this discussion even back then with my mother about who pays on the first date.
Would it be not more men back then would be expected to pay?
But we were conscious of, you know, second wave feminism in the 70s. You were conscious that, you know, women were now trying to kind of establish their own independence. And I remember asking her, what should be the way? What way should this work? And she had very wise advice because she was a very wise woman. And she said to me, whoever asks the person out should pay on the first date. So if the guy asks out, he pays. But that was kind of supposing that women would have gotten shortly to the stage
where they would ask.
Where they would ask out. And I don't think that happens.
No.
And I think that's a shame.
You're waiting on the man to sort of say, will I see you again? Or maybe can we do something next week?
Would you not ask a fella out dating?
I had this
there's a story here. Here we go.
I did this on Instagram a few months ago, and I'd had a few drinks and my friends were like, ask him out, and I did. And then I woke up next morning, realised I did it. And then I got into such a panic in the bed. I was like, I actually can't do this. So I didn't answer back for 12 hours. Went back into the message. He deleted the message back to me because he'd
replied and he said yes.
So I said never again.
He just thought you weren't interested then.
Do you know what the problem is? The slow set. They did away with the slow set and everything went mental.
Can
I ask you very quickly, this whole day, this princess treatment, yes, no?
No.
No to what she said, but if you want to take out the card and buy me a dinner, I ain't going to say no.
She's a list of good restaurants.
Exactly. Just cherish them, man, woman, whatever.
Cherish them.
We all want to feel a little bit cherished. Great fun.
And there's no such thing as a free dinner.
Oh, yes.
Bear that in mind.
And you too.
Édaein O'Connell and Barbara Scully, thank you both so much for joining us this morning.